What's up, y'all? We are working on the Banquette, kind of over in our little nook right across from our washer and dryer. Found some plans online. We'll probably drop those below in case y'all want to try to recreate. And yeah, so first thing we got to do, kind of clean the space out, get it prepped for us, and then we'll start working. Next, quick sweeping. Tools you'll need for doing something like this: speed square, obviously for while you're out making your cuts, a level, miter saw if you've got it. Otherwise, I mean, if you had a, just a hand saw, you'd be all right. And obviously an impactor or drill, something to help you along the way.
Off we go to Home Depot to pick up the things that we need. So there's a few things we already had, like the bits or the screws, the brad nail, the brad nailer, circular saw drills. I know those are big items, but we did need to buy the 2x4s. All right, so we left Home Depot with all of these supplies. Without counting the tools, it did cost us around $200 for all of these supplies to build this.
All right, so I made those first couple cuts, came into the house. Don't quite have the boards exactly where I want them, but just wanted to lay them out, see how level the area was. Luckily enough, everything's within the lines, so we're good there. Went to go clamp it. Milani's got the 90-degree clamps with her. So since this is going to be something we're probably going to use heavily, I'm going to wait for those to make sure we do it the right way. All right, so here are those 90-degree clamps. They obviously are holding our two pieces of wood at 90 degrees, get them tightened on, so that way we're making a really straight edge and a good 90-degree angle there. That'll be important, obviously, as we're going through making the rest, of the corners. Okay, so here, don't remember who I was talking to. Had to have been Milani, if I had to guess. Who knows? But basically, kind of finalizing, what are the first platforms here. Again, utilizing those 90-degree clamps. You can kind of see how we're installing those, putting them into place. Then once we hang up, going to chit-chat to someone else, and then we're going to go ahead. We're going to countersink those bits, so that way whenever we go to install the screws, they go in that much smoother. So here, like I said, luckily the space was pretty level, but we're doing the same that we did in the kitchen, which is working from our high side, the back, to the front. Like I said, all of this actually was in between the lines, so good job to us in the past for laying down our floors good. But that's the process. You want to work from your high side out, which in this case was the back, to the front. You know that thing where you need to measure twice, cut once? Well, I did that, and I was doing, the height we want this banquette to be is 17.5 inches. And so the plywood we got is 3/4 inch, right around it. So what I did was 17 minus what I thought I did, 3/4 of an inch, and I got 13 3/4. However, as you're probably wondering, how did you come to that answer? I wrote down 3/4 of an inch as 3.75. So
I can do the math.
I just made all these cuts. Back to the drawing board. So went back, remeasured correctly, ready to do this, but first had to move the cooler. So we got our height adjusted now. So now we're going to take this countersink again. We're going to throw 2 screws into these support beams that are going to give us our height. Again, the countersink just really speeds up the actual screwing in process. So after we do that, we're going to grab our screws. We're going to throw those in there. We're going to do 2 screws on the top and bottom, so this is going to be really secure. Utilizing some clamps to hold everything in place while we're screwing it, so that way we're not losing, that hard-fought center or 90 that we tried to get so much earlier. So here again, just another angle, kind of get to see this set up. We're going to take 2 clamps, throw those on there, countersink, then screw. If you've got a drill and an impactor, or 2 drills and 2 impactors available, that'll speed this process up. So that way you can see I just switch between the 2 tools, grab the screw, and then we go and we are ready to keep on moving. Alright, so here we are building on the frame for the second part of the banquette. This is going to be the shorter section, so probably just a 1-person seat, 2 if we absolutely need it. But just measuring, making our cuts here, so that way we can move on to the next part of the banquette. Here's a high quality shot of some sap. 90-degree clamps on here, hold it at a nice straight angle for us, so while we're making everything, it's going to be correct. So again, just more of the same here, literally just rinse and repeating from what we did in the first one. We're going to clamp, then we're going to countersink, then we're going to screw. And we're going to continue to do that on all 8 corners because we got to do it on the bottom and the top. Now that we got that done, we're going to go drop it in and see how she looks. Again, everything was pretty level. Obviously struggling with moving the actual level here. But yeah, going to drop this sucker in and admire the work. Alrighty, so where we're at now in the project is we're adding, the skin decorative outside. But right now we're just going to do what's going to be visible. So like whenever we open up the banquette, we're going to be able to see, the raw wood, the wall, whatever. So we're going to do this, then we're going to trim it with some primed 1x3. Nail that to that. And then what we're going to do is prep everything outside, sand it, and we might try and spray it, but we'll see. So the panels that we bought were too big for the table saw. So we had to take the guard off and then try and push it at a very straight line. So we made sure we drew a nice squared line there. You can kind of see it, and just pushed ever so softly. Again, this is not a recommended way of doing it, but the added safety precaution of having the blade nice and low, barely coming through the wood, just gives a little peace of mind in case we do slip. Alright, so where we're at, now really the next step is to add our support for the hinges and also to make our top. From there, really all that's left to do, sander down, primer, and painter. And then we'll attach these two. We're leaving them separate because we know we're going to work on them outside. Milani's adding some wood filler here, just filling in those cracks. Alright, what's up y'all? We have hit a spot where we're going to call it a night. We did a great job in filming us doing the trim. But we went around, added trim. What you saw Milani doing was putting some wood filler in some of the larger gaps that are there. Tomorrow we got to go buy a little bit more trim because for the plans they trim out the whole back and the side, and the plans that I had in my head I didn't do that. I guess you should. A bug with some big pinchers on it, and they just fly into you, so that was good. Tomorrow we're gonna go get that, and then we'll work on the top. Calling it a night. We'll pick back up tomorrow. So here, just adding some extra 2x as some additional support for the hinges. The tops are obviously going to open and close. So this is just a little bit of added support for the longevity of the piece. So right here, utilizing the clamps again. Clamps are your friend. Make sure you use them and take care of them. So using this just basically to hold it in place. And then I'm going to do the same thing that we did the previous day. I'm going to countersink and then screw it in utilizing a drill and an impactor just to make this a relatively speedy process. So what I'm cutting here is our larger 3/4 inch plywood. This is going to be the actual tops. One with the 3/4 inch, obviously it can handle the weight of people actually sitting on it. But again, no guard because the panel was a little too big. However, low blade coming through for the additional safety. Here, just trying to line up the lid or the top itself. What we ended up doing was making the sides flush, but there's, I think it's a 1/4 inch lip on the front, so that way we can actually get a grip on it to lift it. From there, we bought some hinges, and we're just countersinking those holes, pre-drilling, so that way we can go back, get it installed. Now we got the hinges installed, do a test close. Turns out gravity still works. Now I just got to make sure it can handle a whale, so your boy's going to take a spot or take a seat, and we're good. Now doing my least favorite part, but very necessary, going through, sanding down the top, the sides, everywhere that I know we're going to be painting. Like I said, we chose not to paint the inside, so it's basically the outside only. Alrighty, slight change of plans. I was originally going to spray these to prime and paint. Just given the amount of primer and paint we have, I think it makes more sense to go ahead and hand prime and paint them. The sprayer's a lot faster, but it sucks up a lot, and I think there's going to be a lot more waste. So we're going to do this. After this, we're going to go do a little bit of shopping, get ready for dinner. Then when we come back from that, we're going to paint these. We decided to paint them Dove, which is the same color as the wall. Alrighty, so Milani and I are going to do a little dividing and conquering. I'm going to paint the actual Banquette. So what all we've trimmed and put together. She, as you'll see here in a second, is going to be painting the lids. So this way we can both kind of be working in at the same time, but not in each other's way per se. This kind of helped really speed up the process. As far as the amount of primer that we used, we both had our own can. Again, this is just leftover from what we used in the house. We did one coat of the primer, again, utilizing two primers with the kills, and then we used a Kelly Moore product. They're really good applicators, and then we're using a one coat paint. That's why we went with the one coat primer.
We went ahead, picked up things for dinner. We're going to be making tacos. It's not Tuesday, but we are going to be having tacos. So that allowed for the primer to dry. So we're going to go ahead and paint it Dove, and we'll get the first coat on.
So here we're using foam rollers. It's just a good density, and it applies the paint really well. This is the same that we used on our cabinets. Gives you a nice smooth coating. Alrighty, y'all, it's about 12:30, quarter till 1, noon 30, as we've been saying it. It's late. We're not going to finish the Banquette tonight, but we are going to bring it in and kind of just loose fit it, and then tomorrow we'll kind of finalize screwing in the hinges again and whatnot. So good morning, y'all. It is the day after yesterday, but the day before tomorrow. What we're doing today, we're going to finalize these. We didn't get around to it quite yesterday or the night before. There's one little spot we realized we didn't paint, and to date we've done what we feel such a good job on these that we want to make sure we just do it all the way right. So I'm bringing tarp in here, cover the floors. We're going to paint this little back half-inch. While that dries, coffee break. So good. Paint's dry. Time to reinstall our hinges and call this sucker good. Alright, got the beautiful Milani coming over to help out, as well as Smokes. If he had thumbs, I'm sure he'd be great help, but otherwise, he's just good at walking around. But getting these lids back on, or the tops back on, just having to refill in the holes that we made yesterday, so this was a pretty simple process. So to really elevate this piece, we went and bought these soft close kind of like dampeners, I guess is the way to call it. So we're going to throw these in here. This first top actually required the most. The other two just got 2 of these. So that way, again, you know, it just kind of elevates the piece. There's no loud slamming wood. We went through and added that throughout the rest. All right, so our first lid didn't go to plan. We're thinking because that one is our lid with the largest bow, so the mechanism just might not be hitting where it needs to. The second lid does exactly what it needs to, so that fires us up. What is this? Girl, you need to take a shower.
Maybe you need to sweep the floors.
You need to take a shower.
Maybe you need to sweep the floors.
I got your DNA now, you're screwed. They're gonna find you by your toe prints.
Sweep the floors.
Alright, so here's the final reveal. Like I said, this first lid, we had to add 4 of those soft close. It's still not perfect, but it doesn't slam. The other 2 go down nice and smooth, so that way everything is working well. of you guys. That is another project down. Really had fun with this project. It took maybe a total of like 6.5 hours, spanned across 3 days to get it done. Really a project you can kind of get done even if you're just getting into like building and using tools and whatnot. But this was a fun project. We were able to add some more of like the soft close to this first lid over here so that it'll actually close softly. The other two are working great. So this is done. Next we got to figure out what kind of table we want to put here. But yeah, it's done, it's complete. Now we can move on to the next. So appreciate y'all.